Now that we've gone over how to make the model, we're going to do some practice. So in our first example up here, we have 2/10 times 2/10. So if you're following the steps from your foldable on your other page, you see that step 1 is representing this first factor by shading the columns. So those are the rows that go up and down, make columns. So if I shade 2/10, 2 out of the 10 columns, this represents the first factor. Then I move to step 2. Step 2 is to represent the second factor. In this problem, it is again repeating 2/10. So I'm going to shade, and I tend out of habit to go from top to bottom, but you can see that model shaded from bottom to top. Either way, just like the commutative property of multiplication, it doesn't matter what order you do them in as long as you are using the same factors every time. So when we shade the 2/10, and this one I showed you how you will typically see the model all the way across, what you see is the product is what is overlapping right here in the very beginning corner. And we can see that 2/10 times 2/10 results in 4, but not tenths, 4 hundredths. So you have to remember that 0 as a placeholder in your answer. So let's move on to example number 2. In example number 2, we have 8/10 times 3/10. So again, you follow step 1. Step 1 is that you represent the first factor by shading the columns. So with this one, that means I need 8 columns shaded in. So make this a little bit quicker. All right, so there are my 8/10. Now we move on to step 2. Step 2 telling me that to show 3/10, I shade in 3 out of the 10 rows going all the way across. So columns up and down, a row is left to right going across. Once again, I create an array. My array shows me that I have 8 sets that have been cut into 3 groups. So 8 times 3 in this array I know is 24, and I can easily see that this 24 is out of 100, so that's 24 hundredths. Now, I want you to finish the last 2 on your own, and then we're going to check those together. Okay, checking your paper. So, you did 2/10 times 3/10. What I should see is 2 columns shaded, overlapped by 3 rows, so that it is clear the array that I'm making is a 2 by 3, 2 sets of 3, which is 6 But again, this is 600ths, so I need that 0 in the tens place as a placeholder, and the decimal goes in front of the 0. And for our last one, we have 4/10 times 5/10. So again, following step 1, you should have created 4 columns. And overlap those 4 columns with 5 rows. And your final product being the 4 by 5 array that you created on the 100ths grid, which is 20 hundredths.